Hi everybody, Karen Roby here for ZDNet. We're talking today about digital ethics and small businesses. Daphne LaPrance-Ranguet is with us here today to talk about it. And you put a great article together, Daphne. Give us just an overview first of what you were finding.
So digital ethics is it sounds like quite an abstract concept, and that's because it probably is. It's a concept that's been debated quite a lot in conference rooms recently. It's a bit of a hot topic, and it's becoming increasingly relevant as technology becomes ever more sophisticated and sort of impacts more and more aspects of our lives. But a main issue at stake with digital ethics is that it's still in the conference rooms, really, and it's really hard to sort of find a guideline or a practical framework to implement ethics in a business. Now, big tech has obviously been giving more attention to this, and one of the reasons for that is that it obviously makes bigger companies look good to show that they are spending a lot of time and resources on trying to develop an ethical framework for their technologies. So that entails, for example, paying more attention to privacy rights or developing fair and transparent forms of artificial intelligence, or anything essentially for a business that is using tech or developing a new tech. Anything that is showing that this business is making sure that its innovation is being done in a responsible way. So the concept of responsible innovation. So for example, companies like Microsoft and Google have both online statements that you can check online to show that they are deploying artificial intelligence in a responsible way. Another example is Apple, who recently did a revamp of its privacy page so that customers can easily see what type of data is being collected or not collected, and sort of gather a better understanding of how their privacy is being protected. Intel has a chart for human rights in which it says, for example, that it refuses to do any business with companies that are using Intel products to perpetrate abuse against human rights. So those are all examples of big tech giving some thoughts about responsible technology and developing ethical frameworks for the deployment of their technology. But the main problem is that, or one of the main problems, is that when you look at small and medium businesses, when you look at SMBs, the story is very different and things look very different because SMBs don't have as many resources. They don't necessarily have the expertise to think about digital ethics. And more importantly, they don't necessarily think that digital ethics is something that's relevant to them at all. So now the main challenge of ethics in technology really is to bring that conversation from the conference rooms, from academia, into small and medium businesses, and to make small and medium businesses realize that it's also their responsibility to make sure that their technology is going to be deployed in an ethical way, not only within their business, but in the case that they're developing a new technology, also once it reaches the point that the technology is adopted by society, adopted by other businesses, or adopted by governments even, to make sure that this adoption is also done responsibly.
All right, and Daphne, biggest question is, what can we do? How do we improve?
So a good example of what we can do happened actually a year ago in the European Union. It was when the GDPR came into effect in 2018. So that's the GDPR is the EU regulation to protect customer privacy, data privacy for customers. And it's much more pragmatic framework that offers guidelines to businesses, whether they're small or big, on how to protect customer privacy, outlining exactly what customers are entitled to, and giving some sort of practical tools to develop an ethical framework for protection of data. That's not to say that it's resolved all the problems. Actually, when we look at the situation today, a year onwards, it looks like GDPR hasn't really managed to find a grip with SMBs. There have been surveys across small and medium businesses in Europe that have shown that a majority of them still feel like they're not compliant with GDPR. 44% of SMBs in Europe actually said that they don't feel like they obtain customer consent before using personal data. And that's not even for lack of goodwill, because most of them also said that they have spent sometimes up to thousands of euros to try and comply with GDPR. The problem here is more that a lot of businesses just feel like GDPR isn't really something that necessarily will affect them, that they have to comply with, or they don't have the expertise or the adequate resources to deal with it, so they fail to implement it in that way. So it all just contributes to showing that it's also about raising awareness and giving those practical tools to businesses so that they can then implement responsible tech and innovation.